What's going on, guys? Now, I'm sure you, like me, have a ton of questions about this build. How is this thing gonna fit? How is it even gonna run? Are you gonna be able to hook up the rest of the electronics to the engine electronics? Is the shifter gonna be like super far behind you, like you're shifting from the back seat? Is it still even gonna be four-wheel drive? What drive shafts are you gonna use?
Are the differentials even actually gonna handle the power? Are you gonna have to widen the transponder to make it fit? How about the suspension? Are you gonna have to lift it because the suspension's gonna sag due to all the extra weight? Is the transponder even gonna fit? What drive shaft is going to work?
But really, the only important question is the why. Why am I doing this? Why am I putting twice the amount of cylinders and 4 times the horsepower into this 30-year-old tin can? It's actually pretty simple. I'm getting paid to do it. Now, a customer reached out to me through my website for this build idea. For what reason? Maybe the vehicle has sentimental value to them. Hell, maybe they even lost their virginity in this thing. I don't know, but they were serious. Now, I get a lot of dreamers hitting me up for build ideas. You know what I'm talking about. Hey man, I'm gonna need you to hook me up on some parts. Okay, cool. What you need? Yo, I'm running a Civic with a spoon engine, so I need a T66 turbo, NOS, and a Motec system exhaust. T66, NOS wet system, full Motec. All right, that's a pretty sweet build. I got you. How do you want to handle payment? Oh, payment? So needless to say, I'm always cautiously optimistic at first. But after talking to him and finding out that he had already purchased the drivetrain, and he had a pretty good idea of a realistic budget, well, here we are. Another reason why? Well, this is actually a California truck. So there's no rust like typical New England trucks. The body is in fairly decent shape, minus the paint. The interior is dated, but period correct, and also in pretty good shape. As you can see, it's already pretty stripped because the end goal for this is to be self-contained for overlanding. Seemingly equally important to the why is the how. How am I going to make everything fit and work together? Well, that's a very complex question filled with obstacles that I don't even know that I'm going to run into yet. But the answer is still simple. I'm just going to make it happen. Whatever it takes.
I just can't do it, Captain. I don't have the power.
I got a plasma cutter and a welder. I got imagination and determination. And though I may look back and curse myself for being so naive in this video, whatever happens, this vehicle is leaving this shop LS powered. So first step is to remove everything that I don't need. And that is a lot. So let's get started. Okay, I've been cranking away at the wiring on this thing, and we've managed to go from this to this. So, not really a drastic change, but let me clarify. This is a mess. This is all the junk that I removed. This is progress. And sometimes progress looks a little worse before it gets better. So what I have done is I have separated all of the engine and body harnesses out of the original fuse panel because we want to retain this so we can still power all the stuff like lights, wipers, all the accessories. So as far as fitment for the engine, hopefully the accessory drive clears both the battery tray over here and the power steering gearbox over here. So I'm a little bit worried about this assembly for the emergency brake. That's kind of like right where a lot of stuff wants to be. I'm thinking like a header or anything, so hopefully it fits past that. Otherwise, we'll be reconfiguring or redesigning something up there. And then the big unknown, hopefully we don't have any issues with firewall clearance to bell housing. And then all I have to do is make motor mounts, so that way it bolts in. Noticed quite a few hopefullys in that statement, so let's see how this goes. Now on the inside, made some progress on the interior as well. All the gauges and everything are removed to make space for our LCD display. I've got the gas pedal out of it because we don't need that, so I took the throttle cable and everything. So now that just kind of leaves one gigantic elephant in the room. Now I gotta fit this in there. So step one, I gotta break this all down, separate the engine and the transmission, get all the wiring harness and everything out of the way so I can tether it to the forklift and drop it down in there and see what I'm gonna hit. Look, Mom, I'm a carpenter. And that is how you take care of that. All right, so first test fit didn't go well. Could have gone worse, but didn't go well. What we got going on here is, this is where the motor mount has to sit. I don't think these pedestals are gonna work at all. I've got some custom LS swap mounts I'm gonna have to put on there. This header for the Corvette, definitely gonna be all up in the steering column. And as I suspected, this little Z-bar here for the emergency brake is probably also gonna be in the way. Bigger problem is, as you can see, we're kind of not inside the radiator support and we're barely making it past there. So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna take off the factory LS2 manifolds. I've got two different sets of swap headers. They should be like block huggers. We'll see how they fit in there. So back in a little bit with phase two, or I should say back in a little bit with attempt number 2. Look at that, it's all done. It's in. Well, it physically fits. I've answered a few questions and probably created a few more than we answered, but it's physically sitting in there. That's a first step. There are some things that I like and there's some things that I don't like. I like that it fit in there. we are like danger close to the front, and we haven't even stuffed the radiator in this thing yet. That's gonna be an issue. Good news underneath though. Oh my God, it's dripping right on my fucking face.
Yeah.
Literally dripping on my face. So the good news is the transmission does fit in the tunnel. We're gonna have to do a little bit of clearancing on each side just to get it up where I need it to as far as shifter area. Though the bell housing does fit inside the tunnel without any modification to the firewall, I can't get it down far enough for the input shaft to line up because of the oil pan. Now we're basically already sitting on the diff, and then over here we've got that oil sensor that's actually on top of the pumpkin itself. So right now that is what's preventing me from being able to drop the whole engine down so that way the drivetrain can match up. So I started brainstorming options on how we can get the engine to drop down further. Option number one was a front sump oil pan. There's plenty of people out there that already make them and manufacture them. Plop that on. Not super excited about front sump on a trail rig. Plus, when we dropped the engine down and moved back, the sump in the front was actually going to be interfering with the drag link for the steering. I'm not a big fan of modifying the drag link because then, God forbid something happens down the road, you can't just go buy one or order one, it's gotta get modified again. So I'm gonna try to keep the steering geometry as simple as possible. So with front sump eliminated, then we had two options of either modifying this oil pan to fit around the differential, maintain the IFS, or go big or go home and just completely solid axle swap this whole front thing with leaf springs and perches and the whole deal. So trying to figure out which way we want to go as far as is it worth doing all that work for something that might not necessarily be a rock crawler or need all that axle up front. Although, you know, 400 horsepower, V8, you're probably gonna need a little bit something beefier, but I'm gonna do a little bit more brainstorming, some research, figure out what works best. Probably, I don't know, a few dozen, hundreds, thousands more mock-ups. And then, I don't know, I'll probably find a whole new set of problems of things that don't fit. So stay tuned.